list, how would you implement that in code? Let's just get an overall view of what you're doing in a picturesque kind of form. So a linked list is just your node and a pointer that points to another node. So you have your head node and it points to the second node, and the second node points to the fourth, and they all contain values, which is an int and int, a character A or a string A, and just a boolean true. So if you wanted to reverse this, so the head is now the tail. By the way, this is the tail because it points to null. We can do that, yeah, just null. Like I was saying, so now we want to reverse it. So we want true to be the head, and true points to A, which points to 7, which points to 4, and then this points to null. That's what we want to do essentially, right? So all you got to do is have just point to the, since it's point to the right, point to the left, and then instantiate a null at the end, and then remove the null here. So what you want to do here is just point this way, and then this points to null. There, you reversed it. So that's what we're doing on a broad picture kind of perspective. Now to how to implement that code. You have a function we're going to do in JavaScript, reverse list, that takes in the head node. I want to change the variable name to head node, but I'm just going to keep a node for now. So then just for an edge case of if the node is null, or if node, there's essentially it's checking if there's no node at all, if there's no linked list, or if the linked list just contains one node, then you want to do is just return the node. Essentially, by the way, a node also, there's a class. Let's see here, yeah, this probably want to reference this too. That this is a node object that just has a value, and then the next attribute. So which would be taken in another node object. So what you have to do, the trick is you want to iterate through it. So we want to iterate through all of these, and then we want to have a variable called previous because we're going to store references. And then we want to just have what your current node is that you're at. So while there is a current node, so we're going to loop through all of these until we hit a null factor, which is null instead of while loop will exit out of it. So we want to have a reference to the holder to store later. So we're going to need it, so it's called temp next. So we're temporarily holding the value of the node that's next of what our current is. So and then after that we want to say our current dot next is going to be previous. So in this first case, previous is null or undefined. Yeah, so then we want to do is then we want to set previous to our current. So this, yeah. Yeah, so we're looping, we're going to hit this, and our previous is going to be our current, which is going to be 4. So when we move on to 7, our previous is going to be 4, and that's when we move on to the current to 7. And then we want to send current to the temp next, which is 7, which we said already. And that's how we pretty much do it, because this is the pointer switching the pointer link. So our current, when we loop through this for the first time, like when we get to 7, our pointer now, our previous is going to be the previous instead of this one. It was pointing to A, but now it's going to point to 4. So essentially our first step is you go here, step 1 in our loop, while loop, and then it'll make our previous to null, which is make it the tail. Then we move on to the second step, and it was pointing this way, but then we're going to delete that, and point it to the left. So I would just keep on switching unless I make the sign go the opposite way. So, and you keep on doing that until you get to the end. Well, you break it and then you just return previous, which then previous would be a node, a head node with no null references. So yeah, it's kind of tricky in a way to verbally talk it out. It's kind of simple, but yeah, you're switching places essentially of nodes, values, and its pointers.